What's going on, guys? I want to make a quick video to give you a small indicator of how the New World Order will come into fashion. And I've talked about this in many videos, and it'll be through incrementalism. Sorry for the shaky camera. I don't have my GoPro set up in the van yet. I'm just using my iPhone, so I apologize. But I wanted to bring this to your attention today because now that Peter Magyar is the president of Hungary, we are seeing that there is a decline in nationalism, populism, and much of the EU is in favor of mass immigration, open borders, and of course socialism. And the younger generation in Hungary has adopted a philosophy that it's about survival. That's the justification in their mind. You know, you've got a 50% increase in food prices in Hungary. You've got an inflation rate that's probably 25%. So you've got all these old boomers that are used to running the status quo in a global economy. And unfortunately, what I've said for years and years is that I believe the world is becoming too small. Closing the Strait of Hormuz is another example of how this global crisis, economic crisis that we're all going to be faced with next year, maybe not this year, but next year for sure, with food shortages. You know, Trump's talking about the fact that, you know, oil prices are going to rise because of the Strait of Hormuz. I wish conservatives would start talking about what else is going to rise. You realize that all of the natural resources, all of the products that we buy, all come from the Middle East, particularly Saudi Arabia. I mean, they've got the largest chemical factories in the world there. All of our plastics, all of our petrochemicals, all of our lubricants, our fertilizers. So it's not just gasoline that's going to be impacted by this war and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. But as smaller European countries face the squeeze because they can't really sustain themselves without global partners, China and Russia, to name a few. So I can see with my mind's eye as I read scripture how easy it's going to be for the Antichrist to rise to power because he's going to solve a global problem. I believe that global problem will be famine or perhaps energy. Most certainly it'll all have to do with economics. I don't believe that the Antichrist is going to rise to power through a spiritual movement. I don't think it's going to be a revival or a renaissance or an awakening that beckons all nations to worship the Antichrist. I think it's going to be more practical. People are looking for pragmatic solutions to raising their family. And the younger generation that's coming up in the country of Hungary right now, they're hurting. And they like the fact that they can fly to another country without having to submit to a visa. They can make more money by working in a neighboring country. And you think about how the global industry today pretty much revolves around the internet. I know in my line of work, I deal with countries like Africa and India. In fact, some of our crew will be traveling to India and Africa to work on some of the embassies over there in the next couple of weeks. So I've told people I can do my job anywhere as long as I've got an internet connection. I mean, I wear shorts and flip-flops to work. So I think the Antichrist is going to have a real convincing time of brainwashing and manipulating society because of the fact that we become so dependent upon globalization. through our energy, our food source, as well as all of the consumer products that we depend on. So you don't see a lot of countries that are that self-sufficient. You really don't. And I know that Trump is boasting and promoting the fact that we're a net exporter of oil, but we're actually consuming more oil than we produce. So the United States is very dependent on global economy, global trade. Don't forget that. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. Be safe.